There's no doubt that the new monarchs of the United Kingdom are in their twilight years, so speculation has run rampant about what happened.
King Charles just threw out the royal rulebook. He sat down at his desk and completely changed who will lead the monarchy into the next decade. This is not a standard promotion, and it leaves several senior royals completely out in the cold. Palace officials are scrambling to manage the immediate fallout. The future of the British crown looks completely different today. The red folder. The king sat at his desk at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. The room was his private study at Clarence House. 3 distinct folders sat on the leather surface in front of him. 2 were the standard black boxes from the cabinet office. The third was a thick red folder bound with a heavy brass clip. This red folder did not come from the standard civil service pool. It was prepared by a private constitutional lawyer from Edinburgh. The document inside modifies the operational command of the royal family. King Charles picked up his fountain pen and signed his name at the bottom of the first 5 pages. This decision marks a massive departure from traditional royal leadership planning. Under the old system, the monarch relied entirely on a singular line of succession to fill any leadership gaps. If the king was unavailable, the Prince of Wales took total control. This new arrangement introduces a completely different mechanism for running the firm. The immediate tension inside the palace started before the ink was even dry. Prince William arrived at Clarence House just 20 minutes after the signing. He was scheduled for a routine briefing on the Duchy of Cornwall estates. Instead, he found the king's private secretary standing outside the study door. The private secretary requested that William wait in the adjacent drawing room. He explained that the king was concluding a private audience regarding the leadership transition. Prince William was explicitly asked to leave the room. He had to wait outside while his father finalized the new management structure. William waited for 25 minutes. He did not check his phone. He stood near the fireplace, looking at a portrait of King George VI. The isolation was deliberate. The king's legal team wanted total separation between the current monarch's executive decisions and the future heir's household. The door finally opened at 11:45. A senior lawyer from the Edinburgh firm walked out, carrying the signed red folder in a leather briefcase. He nodded to William and left the building without saying a word. The private secretary then signaled that William could enter the study. Let us look at the hard facts behind this sudden move. The British monarchy faces a unique data problem in 2026. The number of working royals has dropped to its lowest point in 50 years. The remaining team members are facing a packed schedule of over 3,000 public engagements annually. The king's ongoing health treatments create a logistical bottleneck. He cannot spend 4 hours a day reading state papers and still maintain his energy for public audiences. He needed a structural fix that spreads the executive burden across a wider group, rather than piling everything onto William's shoulders. The signed document establishes a brand new leadership matrix. It does not wait for a formal regency to trigger changes. It activates a rolling management system immediately. This allows specific senior family members to take over major branches of the royal corporation without needing a constitutional crisis to justify the move. But this sudden shift created an immediate wall of resistance from the palace bureaucracy. The traditional advisors in London prefer absolute predictability. They view any deviation from the standard succession handbook as a risk to the institution's public image. The king's private secretary openly questioned the timing of the decree. He pointed out that the Prime Minister was scheduled for his weekly audience the following day. He argued that introducing a massive structural change without consulting Downing Street first could strain relations with the government. Charles dismissed the objection. He noted that the monarch retains the absolute right to organize the private affairs of the royal household without political interference. The signatures were already on the parchment, and the legal briefs were already moving through the system. This brings us directly to the core mystery of the king's new plan. The red folder contains a specific clause that skips over several traditional assumptions about who takes charge during a crisis. It does not just divide the work between William and Catherine, it creates an entirely new committee of management. Who are the other individuals named in this secret leadership council? Why did the king feel the need to dilute solo control of the monarchy at this specific moment in history? The answer involves a confidential meeting that took place at Sandringham earlier in the year. The staff at Clarence House noticed the shift immediately. By 1 o'clock that afternoon, the administrative files for the autumn Commonwealth tours were moved from William's office to a neutral registry room. The traditional lines of communication were officially broken. This leaves a larger question hanging over the entire House of Windsor. The king has secured the daily operation of the firm. He has protected his own health timeline, but he has also opened a massive door for potential family tension. The new leadership structure changes the game for everyone in the line of succession, including those who no longer live in the United Kingdom. The Tuesday meeting. The Prime Minister arrived at Buckingham Palace at exactly 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening. He carried a single black leather briefcase. He walked up the grand staircase to the King's audience room on the first floor. A palace page opened the double doors. King Charles sat in an armchair near the window, with a copy of the new leadership decree resting on his lap. The meeting started with a direct explanation of the new legal reality. The king handed the paper to the Prime Minister. This document did not outline a distant future plan. It took effect the moment the king signed it the previous morning. The Prime Minister read the pages without speaking for 3 full minutes. Prince William was kept out of the room because the king wanted to present a completed, legally binding agreement directly to the head of the government. William was not a co-author of this change. He was a recipient of the new rules, just like the Prime Minister. This preserved the absolute constitutional boundary of the reigning monarch's authority. The political reality creates immediate tension. The Prime Minister pointed out a potential problem with parliamentary oversight. Under British unwritten constitutional law, significant changes to the exercise of royal power usually involve consultation with the cabinet. The Prime Minister expressed concern that backbench politicians might view this private reshuffle as an attempt to bypass government scrutiny. The king responded with the hard legal facts. The sovereign retains the absolute right of the royal prerogative to organize the internal administration of the household. This includes assigning specific duties to family members. Parliament funds the public duties through the sovereign grant, but they do not dictate the internal command structure of the working royals. With the legal boundaries established, the conversation shifted to a specific clause on page 8. The king added a mandatory age and service requirement for any future leadership roles. The new rule states that a royal family member must complete 5 consecutive years of full-time public service within the United Kingdom before they can sit on any executive management council. This immediately blocks the younger, non-working generation from claiming automatic authority based on succession rank alone. It turns royal leadership into a merit-based position rather than a birthright qualification. This specific clause creates a protective ring around the crown's current operations. The family cannot face a sudden push for influence from younger relatives who live outside the working structure. Princess Anne and Prince Edward are automatically locked in as senior managers because they meet the service requirement 3 times over. But the text also contains an unexpected limitation that caught the Prime Minister by surprise. The service requirement applies retroactively to all members of the family, regardless of their current titles. This means the structure does not just look forward 20 years. It changes the operational landscape right now. The Prime Minister closed his briefcase at 6:45. He left the palace through the side courtyard to avoid the main press pool. He knew he had to brief his inner cabinet on the new arrangement before the official court circular published the administrative updates. The institutional machinery in London began moving to match the new rules by Thursday morning. The registry office at St. James's Palace received the order to adjust the distribution of state files. This is where the tension moves from political offices to the global diplomatic network. A new mystery emerged during this administrative transition. The logistics team noticed that 3 specific diplomatic passports, normally held in a secure cabinet at the Foreign Office, were requested for immediate review by the King's private attorney. These passports do not belong to the working royals in London. Why did the King's lawyer demand to inspect the official travel documents of family members who no longer represent the country? What specific diplomatic privilege is the palace preparing to revoke under the cover of this leadership reshuffle? The answer involves a confidential communication line that links the palace directly to the British Embassy in Washington. The London Network. The head of the diplomatic registry walked into an office at the Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Office on Whitehall. The time was 9:45 on Thursday morning. He placed 3 red leather passport cases on the metal desk. A senior legal advisor from the palace sat across from him. The advisor opened each passport and checked the official diplomatic visas stamped inside. These specific passports belonged to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their eldest child. They were issued under a special category reserved for individuals traveling on official state business for the United Kingdom. The palace lawyer used a black ink stamp to mark the status of each document as under administrative review. The king's leadership decree did not stop at domestic household management. It immediately triggered a review of the family's international standing. Under the new rules, diplomatic status is tied directly to the 5-year active domestic service requirement established on page 8 of the decree. The realization of this rule change caused immediate tension inside the Foreign Office. A senior civil servant pointed out that revoking these diplomatic privileges could create an international incident. The Sussexes live in California as private citizens, but still utilize these special visas for international travel. Removing them would alter their security arrangements with the United States Department of Homeland Security. The palace advisor stuck strictly to the facts. The British government issues diplomatic passports at the sole discretion of the monarch. They are not a permanent right of birth. If an individual does not complete full-time public service inside the United Kingdom, they no longer qualify for state-funded diplomatic clearance. The rule is absolute and applies universally across the entire family tree. This structural realignment creates a massive problem for the Sussexes' international ventures. They rely on these specific passports to bypass standard customs queues during their global charity tours. The documents also provide a baseline level of international legal protection. Without them, they must travel as ordinary commercial passengers, subject to the standard immigration laws of every country they visit. Back at Buckingham Palace, the institutional machinery adjusted to the new domestic command structure. Princess Anne arrived at her office in St. James's Palace at 11 o'clock. She met with the director of the Sovereign Grant Allocation Team. They had a single document on the table showing the new administrative budget for the autumn season. The budget numbers confirmed the permanent shift in internal power. Princess Anne and Prince Edward received an immediate 20% increase in their administrative budgets. This money did not come from a new public taxpayer grant. The palace logistics team cut the funding from the international contingency pool that previously maintained the upkeep of non-working royal properties. This funding shift provides the insulation layer the king wanted. It ensures that the daily work of the monarchy stays in the hands of the most experienced working royals. Princess Anne now oversees the final approval process for all domestic charity charters. Prince Edward takes full control of the Royal Military Appointments Committee. The administrative transition went smoothly until Friday afternoon. A clerk in the palace communications office noticed a sudden spike in encrypted email traffic. The messages were traveling between a major public relations firm in London and a private media management company based in Beverly Hills. The metadata showed that someone was trying to obtain a full copy of the Prime Minister's briefing notes from his Wednesday audience with the King. A junior staff member in Downing Street had accidentally forwarded an administrative timeline to an unverified email address. This brings us directly to the next unfolding mystery in the leadership shakeup. The leaked timeline did not just contain details about the passports or the new committee budgets. It included a specific reference to a 9 o'clock telephone call scheduled for the upcoming weekend. The document indicated that the king intends to communicate his decision directly to California before the official court circular publishes the details on Monday morning. But the timeline also noted that a third party in London had already intercepted the text of the decree. Who is this third party working inside the London political network? What did they do with the confidential information before the palace security team could block the transmission? The answer involves a private courier who left Westminster on Thursday afternoon, carrying a digital flash drive toward an international airline terminal at Heathrow. The 9 o'clock call. The digital clock on the desk in Montecito showed exactly 1 o'clock on Saturday morning. The landline phone next to the computer began to ring. Prince Harry picked up the receiver on the third ring. He did not say hello. He waited for the caller to speak first. The voice on the other end belonged to King Charles's private attorney in London. The call did not go through the standard family mobile lines. It used an encrypted satellite connection managed by the palace telecom team. The lawyer spoke for exactly 4 minutes, reading from a pre-approved script. The attorney revealed the exact nature of the new leadership decision. King Charles has established a permanent Regency Council of 3. This council consists of Prince William, Princess Anne, and Prince Edward. The new system dilutes solo control of the monarchy during any medical absence. If the king is incapacitated, The council must vote unanimously on major state appointments. No single royal can make a decision alone. This change completely alters the expected future hierarchy. The tension grew when the lawyer explained how this setup affects the California household. The council holds the legal right to audit all royal titles and international diplomatic status every 12 months. Prince Harry asked to speak directly to his father. The lawyer declined the request, stating that the king was resting ahead of his next treatment cycle. The line went dead. Let us look at the administrative facts behind this sudden change. The Regency Act allows a monarch to appoint counselors, but it does not specify how those counselors must operate. Under the old rules, a single regent could theoretically make sweeping changes without consulting the rest of the working family. The new council setup ensures total institutional continuity. Prince William cannot be pressured into making controversial family decisions during a time of crisis. He must get written sign-off from his aunt and uncle first. It turns the governance of the monarchy into a corporate board model. While the phone call concluded, an unexpected discovery took place back in London. A senior archivist was working in the basement vault of Lancaster House at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. She was cataloging a box of files from the mid-20th century. The archivist found an old manila folder tucked behind a row of ledger books. The folder contained a 3-page typed memorandum from 1949. The paper carried the personal letterhead of King George VI. The memorandum detailed a secret emergency backup plan created during the old king's final illness. George VI feared that the sudden transition of power to a young Princess Elizabeth would leave the crown vulnerable to political manipulation. He drafted a plan to create a 3-person advisory council to guide her through the first year of her reign. The document was never used because Elizabeth proved entirely capable of handling the transition alone, but the legal framework remained in the archives. King Charles's lawyers found this specific file in April and used it as the exact blueprint for the new Regency Council of 3. This fact changes the entire narrative of the current palace shift. The king did not invent a new radical system to punish his younger son. He revived a historical tool designed by his grandfather to protect the crown during a period of physical weakness. But the archivist noticed a second item inside the manila folder that was not part of the original blueprint. A handwritten note was clipped to the back of the memorandum. The ink was blue, and the handwriting belonged to the late Queen Elizabeth II. The note was dated March 14, 2022. This brings us to the next unfolding mystery in the leadership crisis. The late Queen's note contained a short, direct sentence about the future of the Sussex estate at Frogmore Cottage. The text indicated that she had already given Charles her full permission to repurpose the property for state administrative use if the family line fractured permanently. Why did the late Queen write this note just months before her passing? What did she know about the family's internal dynamics that forced her to leave a paper trail regarding property enforcement? The answer involves a private logbook that records every visitor who entered Windsor Castle during her final summer in Berkshire. The Windsor Safe. A senior archivist carrying a green leather binder walked into the office of the King's private secretary at Windsor Castle. The time was exactly 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon. She placed the late Queen's private logbook on the desk. The page for July 14, 2022 lay open. The entry showed a specific appointment that never appeared in the official court circular. 2 American legal representatives spent 90 minutes inside the late Queen's private sitting room. They did not enter through the main visitor gates. A royal sedan brought them through the King George IV gate. The logbook confirmed that the late Queen spent her final summer creating a defensive legal barrier around the crown's assets. She knew the family line was fracturing permanently. The handwritten note found in the Lancaster House archive was her final validation of this fact. She authorized Charles to repurpose Frogmore Cottage because she realized the property could no longer serve as a foreign base for non-working family members. The reality of this discovery caused immediate tension inside the palace administration. A junior lawyer from the Lord Chamberlain's office pointed out that enforcing the property clause would require a formal eviction notice. The Sussexes still held a commercial lease on the cottage, despite living full-time in California. Canceling the lease prematurely could trigger a breach of contract lawsuit in the British courts. The private secretary stuck strictly to the statutory facts. The land surrounding Frogmore Cottage belongs to the Crown Estate. Under the Crown Estate Act of 1961, The reigning monarch holds the absolute right to reclaim any property needed for state administrative purposes. The new Regency Council of Three intended to use the cottage as a secure digital registry office for the Home Office. The public interest automatically overrode the private commercial lease. This decision permanently freezes the Sussexes out of any remaining diplomatic fallback options. They can no longer claim a permanent residence on British soil. Without an active address in the United Kingdom, they cannot maintain their special tax status under British law. The administrative shift became visible at Windsor Castle on Tuesday morning. A commercial moving van from a London logistics company arrived at the gates of Frogmore Cottage. 3 workmen began unloading office desks and secure file cabinets. They were accompanied by a digital technician from the Ministry of Defense. The technician spent 4 hours installing a localized satellite communication link inside the building. This link does not connect to the standard internet grid. It feeds directly into the secure server network managed by the Council of Three at Buckingham Palace. Frogmore Cottage was officially transformed from a family residence into a high-security state bunker. The financial data behind this transition confirms the permanent change in palace priorities. The refurbishment of the cottage costs £45,000. The money did not come from public funds. It was paid entirely out of the Privy Purse, which manages the King's private income from the Duchy of Lancaster. This keeps the transformation entirely outside the jurisdiction of parliamentary spending committees. While the workmen concluded their installation, a separate problem emerged at the Home Office in Whitehall. A senior civil servant discovered that a copy of the new property assignment order had been downloaded from a secure government server. The download took place at 4 o'clock on Sunday morning, using a login credential assigned to a mid-level clerk. The clerk was called into a private disciplinary hearing on Tuesday afternoon. She admitted that she shared her password with a relative who works as a researcher for an international media network. The relative had promised her a significant financial payment in exchange for early access to royal administrative filings. This brings us directly to the next unfolding mystery in the leadership transition. The leaked document did not just contain the moving schedule for Frogmore Cottage. It included a highly confidential spreadsheet titled the October Grid. This grid lists the precise daily movements of every working royal for the entire autumn season. The spreadsheet contains a specific column that is marked with a AAA security rating. This column details a series of unscheduled helicopter flights between Windsor Castle and a private medical clinic in Yorkshire. The flights are scheduled to take place during the exact 3-week window when the king enters his next phase of isolation. Why is the palace planning a secret transport network to Yorkshire during the king's treatment cycle? What specific individual is scheduled to meet the helicopter at the private clinic while Prince William is traveling through Australia? The answer involves a retired naval officer who has not been seen in public since the late Queen's funeral. The October Grid. A royal helicopter landed on a concrete pad behind a private medical clinic in North Yorkshire at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. The flight originated from the Windsor Home Park 10 minutes earlier. A dark blue sedan with blacked-out windows sat next to the hangar doors with its engine running. A man in a heavy tweed coat walked out of the back seat of the car to meet the pilot. This individual was Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence. He is Princess Anne's husband and a retired naval officer. He has spent years managing quiet logistics for the family away from the front pages. The secret helicopter network was not set up to transport a hidden political figure or an exiled family member. It was designed to move the core members of the new Regency Council of Three without triggering public speculation in London. Timothy Lawrence was there to act as the physical courier between the King's isolated medical suite and the Council's headquarters at Windsor. This setup created an immediate wave of administrative tension inside the Cabinet Office. A senior government liaison officer pointed out that using a retired military officer to carry state documents violates standard civil service security protocols. He argued that official communications during a royal medical isolation period must remain exclusively in the hands of vetted government messengers. Princess Anne handled the objection directly. She cited the Sovereign Prerogative Act of 1820. This ancient statute allows the monarch to appoint private family couriers to handle personal and dynastic correspondence during times of physical illness. The law protects these communications from standard parliamentary oversight committees. The government officials had no legal ground to block the flight path. Let us look at the operational facts of the October Grid. The schedule covers a precise 21-day window. During this time, Prince William will be traveling through Melbourne and Sydney for his Commonwealth tour. King Charles will be completely offline for his advanced therapy sessions in Yorkshire. Princess Anne and Prince Edward will remain at Windsor Castle, running the daily affairs of the realm. The spreadsheet splits the daily duties into simple mathematical slots. Princess Anne handles the morning briefings from the Ministry of Defense. Prince Edward reviews the afternoon appointments for the diplomatic corps. Timothy Lawrence flies the signed papers back and forth twice a week to ensure the king remains legally informed, even while in isolation. This tight administrative grid ran into a major obstacle on Friday morning. A commercial drone flew over the perimeter fence of the Yorkshire Clinic. It hovered near the window of the king's private suite for 3 minutes before the local security team could activate an electronic jammer to force it down. The local police recovered the drone in a field 2 miles away. The memory card inside the camera was empty, but the registration number on the battery pack revealed a significant trail. The drone was purchased 3 days earlier from an electronics shop in Leeds. The shop's security camera footage showed a man using a prepaid credit card to buy the equipment. The buyer was identified as a freelance photographer who frequently sells images to international tabloid networks. He had been staying at a local bed and breakfast under a false name for a week. This discovery brought the tension back to the global network. The palace security team realized that the physical location of the king's autumn treatments was no longer a total secret. The media pool was actively hunting for a single image of the monarch inside the clinic to validate claims about his health baseline. The Regency Council acted within 1 hour of the drone incident. They did not cancel the October grid. Instead, they authorized a tactical diversion. They ordered the royal flight team to schedule 3 identical helicopter routes between Windsor and various regional airports across the United Kingdom. This action successfully confused the tracking apps used by commercial aviation bloggers. By Monday morning, over a dozen different flight paths appeared on public tracking screens. The media could no longer verify which helicopter carried the official state papers and which ones were flying empty test routes. The financial records for these extra flights were billed directly to the Duchy of Lancaster private account. This kept the cost completely hidden from the public sovereign grant reports. It proved that the new council model could adapt to security threats instantly without needing approval from the Treasury. The 3-week isolation window in October arrived without further media breaches. The machinery of the state operated at maximum capacity. Princess Anne signed 42 separate local governance orders from her Windsor desk. Prince Edward concluded 12 foreign ambassador credentials. The transition of authority was functional and total. But as the October grid concluded, a final piece of paper arrived at the registry office at Frogmore Cottage. The document was an official notification from the British Embassy in Washington. It contained a copy of a new visa application submitted to the United States government. The application came from a senior representative of the Sussex household. It requested a permanent adjustment of status from a standard diplomatic clearance to an extraordinary ability visa category. This move confirms that the California team has finally accepted the reality of the new council structure. They are no longer waiting for a temporary return to London. They are locking in their future as permanent American residents. The leadership crisis has ended without a single public protest or constitutional delay. The king's unexpected decision did not weaken the crown. It built an insulated wall around the daily executive power. The Regency Council of 3 holds the reins, and the traditional succession handbook has been permanently updated for the modern era. The future of the British monarchy has been completely redrawn. King Charles bypassed old customs to build a secure, modern management team that protects the stability of the crown. By creating the Regency Council of 3, he has insulated the family from internal rivalry and external media pressure. The new guard is officially running the daily operations of the firm from Windsor Castle.